Why is that not working? I think we're good now. I think we're good now. I don't know what the heck's going on. This restream thing's having a mental breakdown, but I think we're good now. Maybe. Back on YouTube. That's a good sign. It looks like it's working there. So I think we're good. I'm just going to run with it. Hopefully it doesn't have a mental breakdown again. All right, so I'll get stuck into it. Pretty even day from a track perspective. Not much bias. Race 1. Pretty evenly run race, a little bit above average tempo, a little bit below overall. So warning signs on the race. Don't think it's a great race. They don't do a lot. I nearly got the race right. I was desperate to be against Seascape. Couldn't understand why it was so short. Pretty soft in betting. I was all over Rantan. I sort of thought it was going to get the best run and was the best option each way. I was wrong there. Good money for Ikisara. Nice enough horse on debut. A couple of outsider from Waller's Horsefield. The placings, Point and Shoot was a little bit unlucky. Pisces was heavily backed, every chance, and Swift Falcon was okay. But a few warning signs here. I think sort of Diddle Dumpling, Rantan, certainly looking for a break. I'd say Rantan needs to strengthen up. Diddle Dumpling just looks like, even though it had a tough run here, it's probably just in need of a break. And jury's out a little bit on the depth of this race. It's not terrible, but not exactly screaming JJ Atkins either, I don't think. So
now jump time and a great start in the first. Hard to find a lead.
Pretty even line away. They questioned Rachel King on the riding of Amelita. She said I wasn't really looking to go forward, but it's not as if they went super quick here. Rantan out the back. Point and Shoot's probably the horse at the start that's worth looking at. Just sort of gets a squeeze and after jumping okay. Interesting to see sort of at this point that the winner is outside leader. Placings are out the back here. So second, third are out the back. So that's saying to me that the winner's effort's not too bad. Box seat horse runs 4th. Swift Falcon runs 5th. And Rantan runs 6th. So really the on paces struggled.
The favourites pretty wide as well. Seascape in the early stages with Pisces buried down on the rails into the
I agree. I think I said on Little Birdie, I couldn't believe it wasn't 20-1. I relinquished a bit and thought maybe I was missing something. It just came out of a really steady race at Gosford where it had full control on a weird track and obviously 3 wide cover here, but not the worst spot in the world, and just got found out a little bit. Not much happens during the run here, apart from sort of Diddle Dumpling, who was wide, no cover. Sort of said the winner knuckles down best, every possible chance. Pisces, Rantan pretty much had its chance. Josh said it slipped out of the gates and never really felt comfortable. That's kind of how it looked. I think maybe just maturity-wise, a bit of a faster race, coming from the provincials to the city, 900 to 1100. Just needs a break, can mature and improve next prep. Swift Falcon on debut, not too bad, back towards the inside point, shoot out wide here, and this is all off from the Wally Yard on debut, was okay. There's no margins opening up or anything exciting happening here, and they're coming home a couple of lengths below standard, so it's just a race to be wary of. I think you've got to pretty much treat every horse on an individual merit basis, as in, these horses can improve. First starter, first up from a spell, second, first starter. I'd say these two are good chances of going for breaks, and the winner could come up to Brisbane and run well. I'd say it's certainly the horse with the most merit in this run. Sat outside leader. The horse that led finished back here. The horse that was running fourth finished back, and Highly Tempted finished back as well. So yeah, a pretty straightforward race, nothing race. I don't think anyone was too excited about this. Was it 20 to 1 unders? Yeah. So yeah, a bit of a nothing race to kick off, but there's a few of them.
Livia Spirit a bit restless.
Second race, I thought this was not a bad win, considering I thought this horse was a bit of a flat track bully that when it gets a nice enough run up on speed, it can run well. Sort of one paced on pace horse, I would have called it, that can kick on nicely when things go its way. But string to its bow here, actually sits wide no cover off the back of a really fast tempo. They go quite fast here to the 600 speed up to the 8, and then really no merit at all in the back half of this race or the last 600. And no surprise to see horses sort of run on from the back. The best of the on-paces was IPO, who was ridden up on speed after being ridden out the back in a slow tempo race first up. So its effort was okay. Certainly had a nice enough run, but Biographer pulled up 2 out of 5 lame. It finishes last. Extra Gear just went way too fast in front. Who else was up there? Yeah, it's just a fast run, pretty average race, I'd say. This is not a race where I'd be going looking for horses to follow too vigorously. She didn't do a bad job on IPO. I just think she sort of was a bit unlucky that what you wanted was certainly a more positive ride than what it got last start when it was dragged out. But the tempo of this race just left it a bit exposed. Probably still a run short of its peak. I give it a pass mark. The winners out here in the blue cap and the white. So most of the run on horses are out the back. So this runs Broadway Bouncer runs second. The winner's obstructed here. So the winner's 3 wide, no cover. Broadway Bouncer runs second. Sumo Star runs third. IPO runs fourth. So it's a lot closer to the speed than the rest of the runners that finish up there. As I said, they're absolutely flying. Again, here's just a weird choice of a rider. Extra Gear with Molly Burke. We see it again with Kayla Nisbet later. Just these fast horses, I don't know why they opt for inexperienced riders a lot of the time. Just get the tempo just wrong, to be honest. Run with the Tide chases the speed first up. I don't think it's a horse that wants to chase a hot 1100 metre tempo first up, so it's a bit of a forgive, I think. I think it's sort of more of a 12 to 13, 1400 metre horse that needs to control the tempo. I'd be concerned about it backing up inside of 2 weeks off the back of this. I think it's a bit of a gut buster. But at this point, sort of IPO's probably looks the winner, to be honest, but they've just gone so fast, it levels out. I actually thought it was just going to sort of hold on. Everyone's a Star comes down the middle. Sumo Star ran a cheeky race, looked like it was going to run into it, and Broadway Bouncer will just sort of go back here. Went for the run between Stablemate and Everyone's a Star, and wasn't quite in it, and Everyone's a Star certainly closes that run. Probably cost it the race, momentum-wise, has to check off the heels and get going again, but there's certainly nothing there from a protest perspective or anything. Pretty nothing race. Sumo Star went quite well, I thought, considering it looked fat as in the yard, and not really a horse that you would expect to be running on over 1100, but certainly pace assisted. Time overall is nothing great off the back of a hot speed. So a race to be very wary of. Forgiving of those up on the speed, and but the winner was sort of said was wide no cover, but a very fit horse. So another nothing race for mine. Not looking to be super negative towards any of the place getters really. IPO I think will peak next time out, but was just a run. Mad Darcy just a run. Vegas Radar up the fence just a run. Run with the Tide just a run. Just a race, nothing race. Why do you think the market ignores? Yeah, it definitely does. It's probably an interesting point. There's a lot of horses you get like that. Broadway Bouncer is a little bit the same. And I agree with you. Look at the prices this horse starts. It's, apart from starting $2.10 in a Newcastle Class 1, $10, $5.50, $2.70 at Gosford, so back to the provincial 64, $13, but when it's won, $6, 8 into 6, 15 into 10. So it's been well backed. I think there was money for it again Saturday. It's been well backed every time. I'd say it's just the connections. I'd say it's just the trainer more than anything. These syndicates tend to, underplay it, and especially when you get sort of a combo of Chevalier and an apprentice. But it's weird. It sort of seems to start shorter. I'd say it's the trainer more than anything. I think Wayne Sealing comes to mind. It was that horse that he used to get to win all the time. It always used to seem to start 20-1, and you couldn't work out, you're not talking it should have been favourite a lot of the time, but it's very, you think it should be $5, $6, $7, and they seem to start sort of $12, $15. So I can only say connections. Yeah, I agree, Mark. Chevalier can train for sure. Yeah, it's very strange. I agree when it's put 3 out of 4 together in a row, and the only time it got beat was sort of out to 1,200 metres in a Group 2 and only beaten 5. He's certainly not disgraced, and then comes back to this race. I was more concerned about where it was going to get to in the run. I didn't think it was a horse that could do what it did, to be honest. I honestly didn't think, and this is not fillies and mares either. Sort of open 72. I'd say, ratings wise, that'll be the win of its career, even though it was a fast run race. Richard and Wheelfield overplayed. Yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that. They've been going okay lately. That winner was very findable, and I think double figures was wrong. Maybe 550 was a bit tight, but I don't know. I'll keep an eye on that. Will and Richard, that is. Race 3, this is one of the slower run races of the day, and they go slow to the 8, slow it down even further to the 6 and rip home. Actually thought it was a good ride from Rachel, because instead of waiting, she sort of took advantage of that slow tempo and got this horse to the front as soon as she could. A couple of disappointing runs up for the on-speed horse, Rhythm of Love. Maybe went too slow, only beaten a length, but maybe went too slow. Unusual Legacy's, arguably the run of the race. Green Shadows was good from the back. Who else was there? Nana's Wish was good. I thought it was ridden a bit negative. The winner was very lucky to win, but I'm reluctant to sort of say it was a heavily flattered win just because it's a horse that can put itself on speed. It was only second up here. It did hit the front very early, and it wasn't super weak on the line. I think if they run the race 10 times, it probably only wins it once at best. But good ride, and things worked out for it. It's just not the greatest horse to be, heavily against going forward, I don't think. And I don't think it's a bad race. I think Green Shadows is going really well, just a victim of its racing pattern. Nana's Wish is going okay. Ruby Fly's dead set flying. And Unusual Legacy, I think, is a very good horse. Yeah, Rhythm of Love's a box seat horse, isn't it? It's a weird state. It's a bit of a non-chaser, but it's a chaser. I agree with you. It's a better horse when it's got a target to come at, and you need to time its run beautifully. I don't think it's a horse that you'll see leading too many more times. I agree with that.
About ready for the Philip Pacona handicap on Bookies Recognition Day. And the ladies on, they're off and racing, and Desire was first into stride, but Rhythm of Love will drive through on the rails. And
so I think going forward, it's interesting to see, even Green Shadows here is up, running 4th, 5th. Nana's Wish is up there as well. So a little bit of negativity has cost them. It's not their fault. Where are they going to go? You know what I mean? Maybe Nana's Wish could have pushed on. Green Shadows certainly couldn't have. Ruby Fly's looking for a similar spot. So the gates were the big deciding factor here on where the top few settled, and probably one highlights the race, to be honest.
Nana's Wish out wide. Highlights drives into a prominent position 4th. Ruby Fly on the improve from Unusual Legacy, and Green Shadows just easy.
I actually thought when the booking of Amy McLucas that they were going to give Unusual Legacy it was either going to give it a barrier trial or a dig and try and run along, just because it looks that sort of horse and it was ready to go. It was obviously the latter of the two. Didn't really show a lot of speed, but she literally never ever gave it any sort of early dig or any forward pressure to hold the spot. She was more than happy to come back, so that was most likely their plan. And as you sort of see, it was the horse that was probably a good thing beaten in the race.
last of all is Urban Outlook. Rhythm of Love races to the leader.
Not a lot happens here. No early moves. They lope along.
Inside highlights by
So we sort of get to the bend.
the other two coming up to the home corner, and it's Rhythm of Love and narrow.
As I said, they've gone so slow here that, you know, Rachel's done a good job to really not wait, hang around, try to get to the outside. She's just tried to put the foot down as soon as she can, which I think is the right thing to do when they've gone this slow. I think it was a sort of an error from a horse like Nana's Wish that it's not already up outside him 3 wide and trying to hit the front at this point, considering it's, you know, 400 to go and they have gone so slow. So I'd say it was probably the error ride in the race. Who was that? Dylan. So I think he's just been a bit cute. Not a horse that's got a great turn of foot, so I think he's made an error not getting her into the race, and you can see here she's sort of floundering out, sprinted a bit.
Rhythm of Love with gas in the tank, trying to beat off the side, doing a good job. Then highlights further back to Ruby Flyer.
Some really solid sections, which you'd expect from off the back of a really slow tempo here, and then you just got to try and work out for the future who that tempo suited, who it didn't. So for me, the 2 horses that were super flat-footed when they put the sprint on were Unusual Legacy and Nana's Wish, and arguably they're strongest through the line. So I'd say they're the 2 horses that have been affected negatively by the tempo the most. On paper, Green Shadows has made up the most ground, probably, I think. But it's the horse probably with the best turn of foot in the race. So it's a bit of a balancing act, these slow tempos. This horse couldn't win the race mathematically from where it was, but I think the horses that were most tempo affected by a stop-start, slow sprint home were Unusual Legacy and Nana's Wish. I think Unusual Legacy is clearly the horse to follow going forward up in distance. This horse is flying. Ruby Flyer just needs to be placed well. I think Nana's Wish is a little bit lesser quality horse to Unusual Legacy, a little bit less upside, but going well. Desire's going well. Rhythm of Love, as we said, probably better chasing a bum. I don't think there's a lot between these horses, and I dead set think Green Shadow's airborne as well. So I think this race is okay. Interesting, like just trying to talk quality of race. You've got 2 races here, one over 1100, 1500, so they're not directly comparable. And Waterford's race later goes a lot quicker than this race. But race 2, for argument's sake, they've gone sort of about 7 lengths above average for the grade to the 600 metre mark, come home 7 below. So to me, that's really as fast as these horses can go. They've gone quick, they've come home slow. These horses don't have a lot more. Whereas this race, they've gone 4 lengths slow to the 8, slowed down even further to 6, and then come home 7 lengths above. It's hard to know the ceiling of these horses in comparison, and they've gone a little bit quicker than race 2 overall. So to me, you know, race 2, you're starting at sort of an average outlook and saying, well, they're not going to go much quicker, so you're probably going to downgrade the race. If anything, this race, they've still run slightly above average time off a slow speed with good merit in the last section, so these horses can improve a lot. And so these races can have a lot of hidden merit in them. I know it's not favoured way of doing things, but I typically ignore market price and SP when I'm finding horses. Rhythm was another perfect example. The market playing favourites, it always starts fairly short in the market. Yeah, so I think why Rhythm of Love starts short in the market is because it's so consistent and it has that great racing style. It's always in the first 3 or 4. Typically, like, look at it, so it's sort of second of the turn. It's always right there. Third of the turn, the only time sort of 11th of the turn was, you know, in a 1200 metre listed race 2 back from a wide draw. Other than that, and it was slow out of the gates. Every other start, it's been in a really strong, challenging position on the turn, which is basically what most of these big syndicates and things are looking for. Horses that can be in those striking spots. And even though it doesn't have a great overall strike rate, this horse is always going to start in the market to a certain degree, unless it's racing out of its grade like it has 2 starts in a row prior, but did run well. Last start behind Panic and Razors. Those horses are always going to start in the market, and they're hard to lay, or I think they're more betting against options because they need everything to go their way. This horse doesn't have a great turn of foot. It can't overcome trouble. It really needs a perfect ride, perfect time ride, things to go its way. But I think betting around it's a more prudent play than laying it, if that makes sense, because it's always going to be like 4 to 1. I can take plenty out of that. OSL. Yeah, I agree. Desire's not an OSL horse either. Agree completely. Unusual Legacy should get to 1.5 miles in time. I wouldn't disagree with that. Whether it runs 1.5 miles or 2,000 or something, it'll definitely run. I really think this will be a good feeder race, and that first sort of 6 or 7 across the line are all going well enough to win races if they're placed well. And it's hard to sort of, without going through each horse individually, say what that is. And that the winner is probably the one to least look out for, but has upside too, right? It was only second up off a average run first up, improved there and can improve again, looked good in the yard. So it has upside as well. I think this race will be a decent feeder race for sure. All right. Next race. Highway, really fast speed here. They did question Amy Lucas over a ride there, but I don't think there was a lot she could have done. I don't think there was anything weird going on. It was just a bit of a pipe opener and went probably according to plan. This race was a bit weird. Bullock came out really positive on Perennial. They go really fast. Solid time to the 6 and 800 or 8 to 600, and then just below fast enough overall time. Really good ride on the winner here from Dylan. He surprised me. I thought he'd come out all guns blazing, and he came out sort of fairly neutral and let them all sort of carve each other up front and picked up the pieces. Tanglewood ran into the race like it was going to do something and just blew out, I think, fitness-wise. Wilbury was a good run up on speed. I don't think there were too many surprises in the race, to be honest. Remember, Jack went okay. We'll have a look at this race once. I don't think there's a lot to be learned here. I wouldn't imagine this horse has got too many runs left in it. Martini Mama, I'm assuming they'll nearly pull up stumps and come back with it. But it's a genuinely promising horse. Short course horse, so it's the grey here. I didn't think that Bullock would come out so positive. He was a little bit hands tied from the outside draw. Yeah, I will go through the all-in markets after we have a look at a few of these races for sure.
Tickle belly and Bullock's going for them. Perennial out pretty deep.
I don't even know what's on this week, so I haven't had a look. This horse is going well. Remember, Jack, it's had no luck this prep. Saw the trainer's been outed this week for a long spell, so I don't know where it'll end up. But at this stage, sort of this thing's called Compelling Truth is getting carved up by Perennial, who's going way too fast. Wilbury is the horse that sort of sits in with them and runs really well. Martini Mama's in the middle here. The grey, you can't really see it.
Further back then to Shine Your Light, Geo on a wide path from British State.
I think this is Tickle Belly behind them. It goes okay.
Back in the field is Super Impressive, who's back third last from Crop Duster. And last of all is Prophet's Daughter. On the point of the bend, Compelling Truth, the fence being eyeballed by Perennial.
Yeah, like it's just a really good ride from Dylan. Gets the brakes at the right time. Two horses hard in the betting have carved each other up. Wilbury hits the front. Thought its run was good, as we've sort of said. Tanglewood looms up like it's going to win the race. Decent quality horse and dead set knocks up. You see it just loses its action late. The winner does a decent enough job, and remember Jack from the back. It just peaks on his run too. So, yeah, it's an okay highway. It's above average highway. These horses are well up to winning highways, whether it be Tanglewood, Martini Mama for sure. Remember Jack, if it draws a gate, it can certainly feature in a highway or something similar. Perennial certainly can too if it drew a gate. You could see sort of the first 5 or 6 across the line winning a similar race in 2 or 4 weeks' time. You know what I mean? So this form should line up all right. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Stakes race, it's going. I think that's not in Bullock's wheelhouse. It's certainly not his comfortable play. He's sort of pressing forward from white gates. He's a big take-a-sit man at all costs most of the time, and I think he just got caught in no man's land, and certainly not one of his best rides, that's for sure. And the horse has probably not ever been ridden that way either. Hasn't been exposed to that sort of run either. So its effort was pretty good. Rock greater than Bullock, greater than Hard Place. Yeah, he's just made a decision, and our jockeys that desperate for a check nowadays, travelling up to Rocky on Sunday, ground at 700. Josh got talked into it. I know that firsthand. Tommy would tend to. I know Schiller was up there as well. I know, not saying Josh didn't want to be there, but it was certainly not a decision that sat that well with him. As in, like, I'm pretty sure he would have preferred not being there, but you kind of got to do what you got to do. Yeah, and those on, like, he won that Gold Coast race on Lavish Empire, which is worth $1 million or whatever. So it's not as if it owed him anything. And to its credit, it ran out of its skin. I thought it was up against it class wise, and I think it ran second. Dylan one ride, sat out the blinkers on, sat out the back. Which one's that, Paul? In this race? No. Not following Paul. He'll let me know what you're talking about there. Dylan one ride, blinkers on, sat out the back. Did he go to... I didn't even know he went to Rocky. I saw a photo with Tommy Berry, Schiller, Dylan and somebody, and I was like, I didn't even know he was there. So there you go. I didn't even know what was he. Did he ride the Australian Bloodstock slot or something? I'm not even sure. I didn't even know he was up there. So there you go. So nothing really there. Martini Mama could certainly go on. Whether it can measure up to stakes grade at over the Scone Carnival, I assume it'll be like an Hortensia or something like that. Oof. Big jump in class. I think a lot went its way here. Whether it was flattered or not, it's arguable, but the 2.5 length margin probably represents as much as it could. Second horse was not fit. Third horse had a harder run in transit. Fourth horse missed the kick and was out the back 61 kilos. Fifth horse up outside attacking the leaders. So it was probably a little bit flattered, if anything, but still a good win and a horse that's right on the rise. The winner went like a rocket at Rocky. Yeah, I've lost plenty of money on Lavish Empire over its career, fallen into it a few times. Thought it was a short course horse, but it's one of those horses that has that bad racing pattern and always tends to draw awkward gates. So it's either finishing off late over short courses and not getting there, or looming up and not quite finishing off over longer. But its win at the Gold Coast was insane when it got checked a couple of times, and then it certainly hit the line well yesterday, but I'm not sure of the quality of that race, to be fair. Right, race 5. Yeah, I think Martini certainly will. I think Martini will certainly try and get a Cosy spot. You think it will? Like, yeah, a long way to go, but if it progresses at all, it'll get there. This was a disgracefully run race, like horrifically slow to the 800, then slowed down even harder to the 6, and then whipped home from that point. Demiana just a certainty beat, for sure. Misjudgment probably from, again, you got sort of Molly Burke on a leader here. She did nothing wrong trying to take the front, I don't think, just went way too slow. Tyler let her completely dictates that 2 lengths offer on a horse that's not really known for having a turn of foot, more of a one-paced flowing horse. I think he went too slow outside the leader and then basically handed the race to Southern Chile, and Jay Ford did her... 1 second. So that was kind of the race. And again, ran a really nice race from out the back. Smart Little Miss went okay for something easier. Rosetta went okay, but again, negative racing patterns for all 3 of those horses, hard horses to catch. It was basically a barrier trial for anything that was in the second half of the field. They were literally out of play by the 800-metre mark, and if they weren't out of play by the 8, they were out of play by the 6.
And they're racing. Miss Hades left the...
It looked terrible parading Demiana, but and it's betting-wise sort of just kept drifting, but on face value, it was just literally a certainty beat. It just over-races the whole way. So here, my gripe is that, maybe Schiller thought he had the leader beaten, but, on class, but you've got to still ride your horse to its strengths. And, I'm probably overly critical of Tyler at times because he is a genuinely promising rider, but I feel that tempos are his biggest downfall, not understanding how to get the most out of his horse off the certain tempo, and that's where I think he can improve. And this is a prime example. Just went way too slow on a horse that doesn't have the turn of foot to overcome a slow tempo with decent quality horses around it. So I thought he erred. Molly, can't have a big crack at her. She's 3 kilo apprentice. Southern Chile was just laughing to itself. He does have a sustained sprint, and so does Demiana, who's keen the whole way. Where should he have gone? It's always hard in these extremely slow run races when you're being dictated to. So to this point, Jay really couldn't have done anything. It's just from this point on, the decisions he makes. He probably needed to turn. He needed the collet ride, no left turn. Powerful peg, leaving the rails in front from Miss Hades under pressure. Yeah, if he goes to the fence, probably just wins. If that run opens up, but it was never really there. It's Southern Chile that shuts it. If he goes right, he probably just wins, and just a huge effort to be flattened, basically lose all momentum and then pick up. What do you do with this form going forward? I'd be very, very scared of it. Again, such a slow tempo, very hard to know what this horse is going to do off it. Summing it all up, I think that Demiana, it paraded with huge improvement physically to come. So that's a tick for it. But just be scared. Just be a little bit careful of the market. Hugely overplaying it is probably my best advice. Yeah, month break got you for Southern Chile. A lot of Mars runners have those breaks, and they're really difficult. I think that's probably been the hardest thing to work out. Miss Hades out of Hellbent Progeny, love the wet. Yeah, I think he's a bit of a horse that needed to be. He just needed to not allow the tempo to be dictated so slow. When she's gone that slow, he probably either should have been up there outside or taken the front. He's just. You can see she's just a one pace horse. She doesn't quicken. She just grinds through the line. She's been out sprinted by 1, 2, and these horses have closed off. So it just doesn't have a turn of foot. One of my favourite things is to go through horses' form and see when they sort of win. And you can see, off slow tempos, she's gone 4 lengths above, but that was at Rosehill off a sit in a really slow run race. This race has gone 7 above, and she's only been beaten a length and a half. So just gets out sprinted. Previously went at 1, 2.5 lengths above off another slow tempo, 1.5. So it just doesn't have the ability to really let down and sustain a sprint compared to high quality horses. If Mar runs private trials and mock races, I'd say he does. Most of them have jump outs. They have jump outs at Rosehill and not so much at Randwick, but they definitely have them at Rosehill. I would assume that Bong Bong track that he's training out of would have the facility to do jump outs. I'd be amazed if they didn't. I'd assume that a lot of that's going on there. And then, I don't know, he's got 9 training facilities now, so I'm sure that they do have them in various places. For sure, this is Kieran Ma. Something about Star Thoroughbred runs that they just hate the rails. That's an interesting one. Might be a Lady Demiana. Yeah, everyone will have it in the black book. But you've got to be wary of it too, that it could explode off a faster tempo with a rider change and things. There's a lot of things that it has positive. So it's not a genuine... it's not a horse that was super flattered there or something like that. Everyone will black book it, so it'll naturally come up short, but you've got to add in the ability, the potential for it probably wants a little bit wider draw, probably not too much, but it just didn't have a lot of luck there. Wants a rider change. Physically, it can come on, and a better tempo will suit it as well. So there's a lot of things that can help that horse improve So it's not a great horse to like take on or bet against at all costs, if that makes sense. If it paraded perfect and a few other things weren't in its favour, I'd be more inclined to agree wholeheartedly. Race 6, much stronger tempo. They go quite quick to the 8 or just above average, and then speed up to the 6. Not much merit in the last section. So a fast tempo here. Overall quality of the race is nothing special, pretty average. So again, very similar to race 2. You're probably going in looking at this race as an average to below average race, given it's a average time off a fast tempo. Disney is a weird horse. I've often liked this horse, and it'll sit 4th one out and not finish the course, and you want to punch it in the head, and then it does things like this. So Disney is a bit of a nightmare of a horse, and this is what he can do when he's in the right mood. Cigar Flick had its chance. I thought Ostraka was trialling, had 3 trials, and they put the blinkers on it in its latest trial and gave it a good rev. I didn't think it trialled that great. It went better than I thought it would. Yiska went okay, ridden a bit quieter than I thought it would be. Zuccarino went okay. I think the race overall is pretty steady. Let's Try failed. O Tycoon failed. Let's Try is probably the main issue. I think just it went too well first up and then was very flat here, which sort of talked about on the stream. And then anyone who gets my set or whatever, I was concerned that bleeders that go like a rocket first up, it's very hard for them to bounce off that and run well again. And that was kind of on display here. A little bit of a fast tempo. Sort of missed the kick a little bit too and worked hard, and that was the end of Let's Try. So I'm not really sure what to do with him. But all these horses up on speed are working quite hard. Further back to Cricket's Chirping. He ends up in not a bad spot, but you can see the horse is not comfortable. Let's Try and is working. So you sort of stop it here. Winner, Disney. Second horse, Cigar Flick. Ostraka's out 3 wide there, so it's probably the best run in the race, arguably. West of Africa runs 5th. Yiska runs 4th. And Zuccarino runs somewhere there too. So most of the horses in the finish are out the back, and Ostraka's the exception to that. Ravenclaw pressed on there, took the lead away from O Tycoon and Ostraka third, a length and a half to so Tom Sherry on Ostraka's probably had it working as hard. Ends up outside leader after the Cricket's Chirping rolls to the fence, but still just never really stops working the whole way. So it's probably the run of the race clearly for mine. Disney down the outside. Cigar Flick given an absolutely perfect ride from Nash. Just cuddle exposed. Look the winner and still can't hold them off. I think poor old Cigar Flick's found its ceiling. Maybe needs a bit of a wet track or something like that to get to its absolute best. Not saying it can't win a race. Like, it's only been beaten on the line here, but that's the definition of every possible chance, I would say. These 3 are all flattered by the tempo. Ostraka's the best of the on-paces, probably worked the hardest of the on-paces, so its run was very good first up, but just a little bit wary again. 3 trials leading into this. Not a traditional first up to second up horse. It will be interesting to see how it runs next time out. And Cigar Flick, I think that's as good as she can go. This was West of Africa, first up off a long break. We'll just quickly look. It was back in here and just gets held up and checked. So it's a bit of a balancing act one, because it's pace assisted, but a little bit unlucky in the run and was first up off a break. So he'd probably give it a pass mark. If anything, a little bit negative towards these guys. Slightly negative towards the winner, coming from a rearward position, but time's okay. Not super negative. I didn't see Pushy was in. Filthy, I didn't see it was in because it was like $7. Very well ridden, and the pattern suited it over in Hong Kong yesterday, but I'm dirty. I didn't see it was in. Yeah, I was joking that you're saying Lorraine at $3 in the city race. I was joking that he shouldn't be allowed to have it in his GPS. Cricket's Chirping was pace affected. It's up on the fast speed, but This is Cricket Chirping here, sorry. Wrong horse. That was O Tycoon up on the speed. Cricket Chirping here. Close enough to the speed, but every chance I'd say it was very... It was okay. Cops that little check, runs on again late. I don't know. It was okay. It came again through the line, but there's no merit in the time. So, you know, like when you sort of come again and it's a slow tempo and they're running fast times, I'd take it into account a little bit more than when they're not actually speeding up late. I know it's sort of come again after a little check's not easy to do, but it's when they're not really going fast. It's not as big a positive. Just be a little bit careful. Race 7, good fast time here. Great ride from Nash. Quite a solid tempo to the 8. He maintains it to the 6, and then they come home slightly above for a fast time overall. So, good race. Kazoo was a good effort. Misses the kick a little bit. On pace dominated, but in a good way. They've actually done something. Renosu pulled up with a slow recovery, I think. I sort of made a note here that there was... The good thing for Hard to say here is that it had a bit of separation between it and the main chances in the race away from it. But that was, you know, it did work to obtain that position, so it's not a negative. Kazoo half misses it and works hard, and then it's got a bit of cover is what I'm saying. I did say at the time watching the race that Watergoes was not one of Josh's best rides. I think he was just a little bit patient throughout, and being first up, you know, that's probably maybe what the stable wanted, but it was probably detrimental to its chances a little bit. And, you know, it's just a horse that's not going to run down fast horses like this, giving them that big a start when they're running this time. Not many horses can. So this is Watergoes here. Hard to say presses forward. Fox Fighter ends up out the back. I think this is Kazoo here. So you can see it's last in the stripes, in the blue and white stripes, and then gets a fair old shove to end up here, to end up outside leader. So its effort's pretty good first up. I think we talked about it during the stream too, that it's more of a horse that appreciates a little bit further, 12, 13, 1400 on a little bit more relaxed tempo where it can be a bit more of a flat track bully. So its effort first up was really good. What I'm talking about here is running cover. It's got to the front fairly comfortably. It is working hard, but second horse is working harder and has half missed the kick. Third horse pulls up with poor recovery. Fourth horse is probably a 25, 30 to 1 chance here. Is it even more? Oh, no. 70 to 1 chance. Manhood was a 25 to 1 chance. Kips Bay was first up. So what I'm saying is this separation between it and the main dangers that are getting nice runs. So say Watergoes. Who else is out the back here is like Fox Fighter. Nothing really runs on from out the back. Barber. So it's got like a 5 or 6 leg separation from any horse that I thought was like profiling to be fairly dangerous. So, you know, good tactical ride from Nash, that is.
In second position, followed by Renosu third. On the outside of Howes, the Serenity. Then came Manhood, Kips Bay, the rails. Half the outside to Eagle Nest. Watergoes back in the field with cover. Then Age of Kings, Barbarous, Dero and Fox Fighter. Hard to say leaving the fence from...
Watergoes is like a real professional. I don't think it really matters what stage of its prep he's in. He just always runs well.
Dylan Gibbons is quite happy to hunt through on the fence.
It's just hard to run these down. Like watching it, it all makes sense now. They run fast overall time. They never really slow down. And he's not a horse that can rattle off, I don't think, you know, 6, 7 lengths above standard off the back half of an 1100 metre race first up. That's just not his go. But he's run well. Fox Fighter ran well, just given absolutely none. Eagles Nest had improved performance back in distance. Manhood went quite well. I think that's a decent race. You can see Watergoes really building through the line there. I thought his run was really nice. Barber went okay down the outside for sure. Going forward, no knock on the winner at all. Really nice run. Second horse can improve. Good effort first up. A little bit quirky out of the gates. Up to 13, 1400 metres in time. Maybe one more run. It'll be hard to beat. Solid enough effort for sure. Solid. Probably needs to go back to mare's grade ideally. Around 1100 metres around Rose Hills. Definitely its trip. Barber Not sure Watergoes can get up to a 1400. I think he's probably its best distance. Can run a mile, so it'll be dangerous. Sort of second, third, fourth up for sure. And this horse just drive you crazy. Needs a rider, box fighter desperately. Is it possible Watergoes? I think it went really well. It did have a hard prep last prep and was set a few tasks, but look at him. He's doing nothing but building. He's sticking his head out. There's nothing negative about it. Look him through the line. He's running up their asses. Josh is looking behind him to make sure he doesn't run up the leader's ass. So I think he's returned in really good fashion. Watergoes. It was just not his day on Saturday. Note the horse is finishing 5 lanes off GF. I laugh when people were saying Nation's back. She's got that many horses. She's got to train winners, right? All right, next. Waterford. Another race. They've run a ridiculously fast time here. She set a really strong tempo, increased that tempo from the 8 to the 6, and they've come home above standard from that point. So this race should be a very good race. Benchmark 100, 1500. This race should feed Brisbane Carnival for sure. Horses to look at here that have run races. Waterford obviously is returning good style. Seems a very good fresh horse. Seemed forward. Very, very strong betting go. I know A Star was always in the betting, looked like it was on paper going to control the race and did run really well, all things considered. Sir Lawrence was first up, ran well. Grabini was ridden quietly, first up, ran well. Pesto ran well, especially for a horse that can get to 2,400 metres. Ryazan was maybe a little bit fresh, bounced a little bit close to the strong tempo and battled away. Lions Roar a little bit similar. I'm a pass mark for both of those. Flying Crazy is an interesting horse, just gives up a huge start here. If it draws a gate in an easier race than this, I think it's ready to go. Bethencourt was ridden way back and, after a good win first up, it's eligible for easier races and it can improve. And even Amakura was a bit of a pass mark. I thought it went okay late. I'm happy to be really lenient to most runners here because I think this is a strong race that'll feed a lot of there'll be a lot of winners come out of this race in the coming weeks, whether it's next run, the run after. A lot of these horses are looking for further, and we're kicking off here. But I think this race is a very strong race, a bit stronger than even it may have looked on paper prior. So basically here, poor old Kaylin is, but the horse, I think she's just a little bit too urgent. So Bethencourt here is interesting. We'll see. Bethencourt's out the back. Grabini out the back. Flying Crazy out the back. Where they settle to where they are after 50 metres or 100 metres here. I know A Star, you just see she just gets really busy on the horse, and what she does, a more experienced rider just wouldn't be that impatient early and sort of let the horse cruise through its gears and allow it to get to the front eventually. And where she pays the price here is where the horse won't come back to her, and it's just overdoing everything here. And as I said, she pays the price late. So at this stage, you've got I know A Star here. The winner, Waterford, probably an ideal spot, 5 to 6 lengths off the lead, absolutely perfect where you'd want to see it. Amakura just inside it, I know, and St. Lawrence is maybe outside of Amakura, I think, in Kira Ma's colours, or is it Aussie Kier's colours? Pesto's back on the outside. Here, Ryazan is box seating, as you sort of said, and Lions Roar a little bit too close in the run.
3 lengths away to Flying Crazy. The field is well strung out. And I know A Star.
I think Taylor is going to Sky to
favourite in front by a length and a half. Cosmic Vega. Then came Riazan, the third. 2 lengths to Faniska on the outside of Lions Roar.
I can't say it was a good ride by Kayla because she's gone 10 lengths above to the 800 metres or the 600 metre mark. So she's gone sort of way too fast. If she had have rated the horse a little bit more steadily, you know, it's arguable the winner doesn't get it, but the winner's gone very well. I don't think it really ever settled. I can see even here she's just going too quick. She's up at here. She's never really given the horse a break. I think a more senior rider gets a little bit more out of it.
Has Cosmic Vega under pressure. Riazan staying towards the inside. Further back now to Waterford.
So sort of Grabini here, Pesto, St. Lawrence, Flying Crazy's that horse that I think was a bit more of a hidden run. Amakura looked like it was going to do something and just flattened out a little bit one pace late. But as you said, just don't underestimate how quick this race has gone. So Ryazan sort of presented and then goes one pace late. The other thing to be a little bit wary of here is horses backing up out of this race too quickly. First up, first up, first up, first up, first up, first up. Just worried that all of those horses have put in a pretty taxing effort here in a fast run race. So I'd be just a little bit wary of them bouncing off that. And this is Amakura. Watch it through the line. It was just okay. I don't want to sack it off that. I think it's a horse that will certainly improve with more ground. And yeah, she's retiring from riding. Wasn't the worst ride I've ever seen in my life. I just think she just overdid it too early. I think she cooked the horse at the first 200 or 300 metres is where I think she erred. Maybe Bjorn asked her to watch tape and she took the Schumacher tactics to heart. That's absolutely possible. I think she's just got a little bit excited, right? Sorry, I missed Paul's comment before. Hard to say. Did the opposite of T. Berry, did not last start. Yeah, I was surprised to see it ridden that way, but it was certainly a better way to ride it. Better way to ride it. So that's that race. Yeah, I think Waterford, I know a star, St. Lawrence, Grabini, Pesto, Ryazan, even Lions Raw. I'm not sacking those two, but maybe the first five across the line are all very, very solid efforts. 4 of the 5 of those first up from a spell in a really fast run race. So as I said, sort of probably 21 days between runs would be ideal. If not, just be a little bit wary of them regressing off a tough effort first up next time out.
Here over 18.
So we go extraordinarily slow run to an extraordinarily fast run race there, even though they didn't slow down too much. It was still a fast tempo to another ridiculously slow tempo here. So sort of 6 lengths below to the 8, slowed down even further to the 6 and then run home quick. So no surprise to see it was a fairly on-pace dominated race. Premise comes from just behind them. It makes a little bit more sense why this horse peaked on its run. It had to make, it was the 4th fastest last 800 of the day. We do get some really interesting runs back in the field here from, I thought Vega Magnifico is probably one of the runs of the day. First start in Australia for Annabelle Neesham, or one of the best hidden runs of the day, we'll put it that way. Political Debate improved significantly. It was a good effort. Pervade was a bit of a shocker. I don't know if it's an on-pace horse or not, but I don't think it's going any good either. I think the slow tempo suited Superium. Good ride from J4 to have Carmaguay up close to the speed, and it was it was a solid enough effort. Sitting outside the leader, I think, for the most part, so not knocking its effort at all.
Well off the inside, and Matthew Flinders being sent forward the other to go up and join.
A bit of a surprise to the leader. There wasn't really a leader on paper. I thought Sir Lucan was probably most likely to lead, and no urgency there, so it took a sit. Great ride from Nash. So this is Let's Roll the Dice here. Second horse, Premises back here. Calmaguay's in the yellow or green. I'm not sure. I'm colourblind. Superium just in front of Premise. Political Debates out the back. So probably go back to the start. Hard to tell from this angle. But the horse that I'm interested in here is this Vega Magnifico. So hard to tell if it bounces okay or not. By the time we see it, that's an optical illusion. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it can settle closer from a better draw. You can see it's hard to see there, but it was quite big in condition and had a lot of physical improvement. Nothing happens during the race. They're going quite steady. They slow down. So full control to the on-speed horses. You can see Premise starting to slice through a bit. So Tyler's trying to get the horse into the race at the right time. He's tried to sort of make up as much ground as he can there between the 6 and the 4, which is good. He's done nothing wrong there. I think it was Tyler. It was. Oh, I bag him a bit, but good ride here. And I don't bag him, but you can see this horse has already made up a lot of ground, Vega Magnifico. If I'm just going to chop back. So here it is here, and this is Premise. And again, it's hard to tell with the optical illusion, but it's already started to make ground here back towards the inside. Made ground quite quickly. I think that's a good sign for a horse having its first start in Australia. Political Debate trying to get to the outside works home really well also. Premise, they have a bit of a bumping duel. Let's roll the dice and Premise and Let's Roll the Dice just a little bit more. Intestinal Fortitude late. But another one of these slow run races, be very careful with them. There is huge upside to them, but you've just got to be very, very wary about them. But yeah, I thought this horse was one of the better hidden runs of the day, Vega Magnifico. Not a stable that I really go looking for, but its form in the UK is basically, you know, sort of around the 2,000 metre mark for the most part. So kicking off over 1,800, such a slow run race, I'll be treating that like a mile run. Probably wouldn't want to see it go up in distance too much. Something around the 1,800 metre mark again would be my preference, but did run the fastest sort of 6 to the 4 and 6 to the 2 of the day and did knock up late. Third fastest last 800 of the day. Political Debate ran the fastest last 8 and 6 of the day. So again, these slow run races, I like these 800 to 200, 800 to sectionals because horses sort of that are out of their ground use up so much energy from the 8 to the 2 that they're often sort of a little bit underwhelming late. But that's because they've already been forced to try and put themselves in the race from an impossible position. Premise did cost us the quaddie. Yes, it did. Could that mean Sir Lucan wasn't fit enough? Yeah, that it didn't go forward, maybe. Josh doesn't ride a lot for them. You know, maybe he just rode a little bit cute. 61.5. It was probably just a kick-off race. I'm sure they've got targets in Brisbane for it. Yeah, Premise a little bit. All of these won't win a race for the rest of their prep. Yeah, I'd be wary of this race. I would be wary of this race, for sure. As opposed to the earlier race, we were saying there's slow tempo, a lot of merit. This race, a little bit more wary for sure. The last, they control the tempo pretty solid enough, close enough to an even tempo to the 800. Slow right down between the 8 and the 6 and then run home in fast time. Really just nothing more could have gone right for Diamond Diesel. Perfect draw. The slow down from the 8 to the 6 is right, perfect for it, and then it's able to out sprint them. I thought the Waterhouse horses both sort of didn't help each other here. I think they should have let Huesca lead and roll along. I think back in distance, a sit sprint was not to its liking. Silent Impact went really well for a horse first up from a long break, but yeah, I just think Huesca was the one that was most disadvantaged by that slow tempo. Eastern Glow went okay. Horses back in the field you could be forgiving of. The race itself looks okay. Just a bit of a stop-start, ugly race. I think it's a bit of a nothing finish to the day. Everything that can go right did for Diamond Diesel. It got the job done. And there weren't any real flashing light back me next start horses, I didn't think, here. Yeah, sort of just bounces in the right spot, Diamond Diesel. You can see Rachel's just very keen to find the front here, and then Adam sort of lobs outside and gets quite keen for most of the race. You can see sort of Starman, Ivan's Hero is not a horse that races this close to the speed that often, so that's how slow they're going. You see Royal Charge pull him. Huesca gets really keen from this point. They've just gone way too slow. So I think the two Waterhouse horses have sort of not done each other favours here, going so slow, and the horse that was kidding, laughing in the run, giggling, whatever you want to say, was Diamond Diesel for sure.
3 wide with cover. Further back then charges it up.
As I said, just a bit of a nothing race. See Wesker quite one-paced. Starman a little bit unlucky, held up in behind, but that's Starman, just a bit of a punish of a creature. Able Willie missed the kick and ran on quite well. Fresh horse that can sprint well, but poor racing style that's hard to catch. I think that's about enough said about that. Eastern Glow, I think, is a horse that can improve. I think it's ready to go. I actually kind of liked it on Saturday, but, you know, that certainly race wasn't run to help it. Very, very wary of that rider, Jaden Lloyd. I've seen enough of him in Brisbane to say that I don't understand why he's possibly been put on a ship to Sydney, maybe just for the carnival time, maybe. But be very careful backing Jaden Lloyd from what I've seen. Talk during the week. I think that Redbreast is the only horse that I've had a crack at, or small crack at Redbreast to win the Oaks, and small on Kenyatta as well. They're the only two bets I've had for the. They're the only two bets I've had so far, but we'll have a look at them. Have a quick look at the couple of races from Adelaide. Skybird we'll have a look at. So fast run race here with not a lot of merit in the final section. So a little bit wary of this for Skybird. I'm probably Skybird's one of the biggest fans since its first start to race. It was really good to me last prep. Thought it just had a barrier trial first up, and then not surprised to see it run well here on Saturday. But pattern was in its favour here, and a fast run race. I think, you know, it's a chance of backing up in the Goodwood. Just be a little bit wary that everything that could go right did go right here, I believe. Just bounces into a perfect spot, 3 wide with cover, gets to the right part of the track. Tempo assisted, as we sort of said. So whilst it's a very good horse, 7 day back up into a Goodwood might be a little bit tricky, but as I said, I love the horse. I think it's a very, very talented horse. I'm certainly not potting it too heavily. Just not getting carried away with this win is probably the best way to put it.
As they swing in now, Great Maximus, then Paradise City, the Novelist in front from Sir Sway. It's the Novelist from Sir Sway. Now moving up and joining in is Skybird. Skybird ran to the lead.
I think that's Moesha.
Moesha's thundering home from well back. It's
chasing it, but I just love the way she pins her ears back and whatever. Just be careful. They're coming home sort of 5 lengths below standard according to the official times anyway here. So whilst it looks a big flashy win and she's streaking away, she's certainly not breaking the clock in doing so, and plenty's gone her way to there. So just a little bit wary, but a good win nonetheless. Yeah, right part of the track. Connections mentioned the Everest. Well, maybe she'll get there. Jaden will do the country provincial circuit. I'm not sure. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he measures up in the country provincial circuit. Did you see Romantic Warrior? I did. Yeah, it was a good win. Arkansas Kid, yeah, it wasn't his best ride. I think he was very light, Mark Zara. And whilst I'm really in amazement of how relaxed and casual he was across the line when he lost his rein in the Oaks, listening to his interviews post race and watching his ride on Estrella in the Sangster and even his ride there, I think he was cooked. I think he's riding too light. I think he was basically off his head, and that's why he was so lackadaisical across the line in the Oaks. I think he was just a little bit cooked. So yeah, I'm a huge Mark Zara fan. But I think a few of his rides on Saturday showed that he was a little bit like Nash, like trying to ride that lightweights, even though he got the job done in the Oaks, that they went 10 above, and it was more the performance of the horse than the performance of the jockey that got it home there. Very, very good win. I won't bother with the Queen of the South, super slow run race, whatever. I won't really bother with the Oaks either. I don't think it's going to feed too much form. They do run fast time, and maybe those horses will sneak to Brisbane, but I will show the last little bit.
will start a marginal favourite. Back with
Tim thought he was home on this, whatever it's called, the New Zealand Oaks filly, but it just knocked up. Gap between runs, no good. But yeah, very fast tempo and what we're trying to say in here. So a little bit stiff, old Private Legacy down the outside, Greggy Hickman. But you can see he drops his rein, he looks across and whatever. But I think he was in Disneyland, to be honest. Sick Private Legacy backers. Sangster's worth looking at. So here, fast run race. They go sort of 9 lengths above. They run 6 lengths above overall. Only slow down to sort of cut 2.5 below the last 600. So they've run fast time. They've gone fast all the way, basically, but really fast at first half. Strange. What have I done here? I've just killed everything. Strange to see the two Mar horses taking each other on. I thought... but it was what it was, right?
Set.
Anyone see my comments? Yes. By Jag, you're talking about? I haven't seen a lot of Jag lately.
Set. Go there racing.
So Estrella here. Very strange to see the stablemate I Am Me taking it on, I thought. Why are you doing that? Why are you supersizing? Yeah, very strange to see I Am Me taking it on and going such a fast tempo. It's pretty hard to knock this win of Climbing Star, even though it sort of does come under them. It does come from last in a similar position to Learning to Fly. Obviously, Learning to Fly has to circle, whereas the other one comes under. And Benedetta's the same boat. I think Shin is just concerned about that inside draw and trying to get to the middle of the track, and he didn't really want a box seat because then he was going to be dictated to where he had to go in the run. And I just think they've just sort of overdone the speed. But, yeah, so there's sort of Zapateo, I Am Me, and Estrella are all working quite hard here to stay away from that box seat position, and it basically cooks all three of them. So I Am Me finishes 4th, credible run. Zapateo finishes about 8th, and Estrella finishes 5th. So I think all three of these horses were just concerned about, well, these two were concerned about getting crossed and ending up in that spot where Benedetta is. This is Climbing Star back here, and this is Learning to Fly. Sorry, I'll go back and just have another quick look at. So Learning to Fly, again, there's that parallax error, but it jumps as well as Estrella nearly, and at one stage about 12 lengths behind it. So whilst the tempo suited it, and that's Climbing Star getting dragged right back. So yeah, trying to work out how tempo assisted they are as opposed to sort of the position they've had to give up from the draw and all sorts of things here. It's a bit of a Rubik's Cube to work out. The eye says that Learning to Fly has gone like an absolute rocket. The eye takes you to Learning to Fly because it's down the outside and you sort of don't look at Climbing Star, but it's no slouch. It's still a strong performance. You kind of stop it here. What's that gap? Probably 6-7 lengths. But they're side by side.
Root skew with Benedetta, then waltz on by Climbing Star, and Learning to Fly has to come from last to win.
And he's cut right back towards that inside section. It's very hard to line them up there. I don't know if you can. So off that line, does it even work? So if that line's anything to go by, Climbing Star's, what, 2 or 3 lengths in front of Learning to Fly at that point. So he has saved ground. And I don't, as I said, I sort of at the time, I've never seen a horse let down in a Group 1 like this and look more home and get beat. And if anything, she sort of just peaks like 20 metres out or 30 metres out, I think. Yeah, it's hard to knock any of the performances, I think. Estrella paraded really fresh. She's worked 3 wide outside and they've gone 8-9 lengths above. I Am Me's been ridden really aggressively to stay away from that section. They're both really good efforts. Anyone who's knocking Estrella's run, I think, has never seen a race in their life. She's hung on really well. You know, it's a weight for age fillies and mares race, and it's her first time away from the straight, where her form's been incredible this prep. Not first time in general, but first time in the last few runs. She won at Caulfield as well, I think early in the prep. Was it first up or? So she's been around a bend this prep and run well, but this is a strong race. No fluke in the winner's win, really. Pace assisted and cut up the inside, but it's put two really good runs together in a row. High quality fillies and mares, all of these horses. Yeah, I think Estrella would have been very hard to beat in the Arrowfield. I do note that he sort of says she's got a shuffly action, all these things. I think he'll keep her to the straight as much as he possibly can. I think he will be desperate to just straight track runs with her. Learning to Fly never got near hitting the front. Good horse, Vibrant Sun. Sorry, I missed that comment. Absolutely. Roots was ordinary, but it's not a 1,200 metre horse. I don't know why it was in this race. It's not a 1,200 metre second up horse. Thoughts on Chairman's race 3 from memory and Bold Soul the winner. I'll have a look at it in 1 second. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on the race. Learning to Fly, huge. Climbing Star, flattered by the tempo, but still plenty of merit in the win. Benedetta sort of had to force itself away from that inside section that everyone was trying to avoid. I think she went okay, and I and me, Estrella were both very good. Good merit in all of their runs, and even Zapateo just had to work way too hard from that inside draw, just trying to stay away from that inside section. So it was a bit of a cat and mouse race, but a really high quality race, I think.
First couple of hundred, no doubt. Jason Holder will be.
Yeah, Cancello was just poor. I haven't read the steward's report or anything like that, but the horse just never travelled, never went at all. And it had the right form. Private Legacy came from behind it last run, so I couldn't explain why Cancello went so poorly. It was just one of those things.
McCante began fast.
This is race 3, just looking at this Chairman's Stake. So this is a 2,000 metre race. They absolutely walk. The time overall is terrible, and there's not a huge amount of merit in the last section. So I'd say this race is likely to be a very, very, very average race.
A length away then to Steel Blade as they head to the stardom. Just Brilliance had a gun run fourth. Two further back.
Look at the leader. It's like track gallop speed.
Of Steel Blaze, and then 2 to Bold Soul, who's on the outside of Warrior to Warrior. Then Tulsa King, Bloom and Edge, Harvest Moon, and Warmonger has now settled better at the tail end of the field, but he still spots Air Assault as they run inside the 750 about 10 lengths.
He's probably gone too slow on the leader. The leader's a one pace sort of.
Then came out a Warrior. Then Harvest Moon, Tulsa on the lead and turns in front in the Chairman's. Air Assault by a length and a half. McCante, Shinjuku seeking stardom. Just Brilliant out wide. Bold Soul, Tulsa King and Warmongers down the middle. But Air Assault kept finding with 100 to run. He's clear. Now starting to swamp him late. Bold Soul. Bold Soul driving at Air Assault and won the Chairman.
It's a hard one to line up, Ian. It's a ridiculously slowly run race with not a huge amount of merit, as I said, in that last 600. Visually, you can see Warmonger's ripped home, Bold Soul's ripped home. Whatever this horse here is come home quick too. Just bunch margins. Leader's gone too slow. Far out. I don't know. It's one of those really ugly 2,000 metre 3-year-old races that's very hard to work out what to do with, but yeah, it was given none. The Archer, I'll have a look at it, but I think the Archer was just putrid. I'll have a look at it. The Archer, I wouldn't bin that race, but I'd be treating it very, very warily. The Archer, so I haven't even got times there, I don't think. Namazu, oh, set an even tempo, come home. I've only seen it once on my phone. So.
Now we're set.
I heard that Straight Acer didn't parade the best. Actually, thought it was the pick of the yard was probably Super Helpful. It was probably the most disappointing horse. Just never ran on at all. Lavish Empire's back here towards the rear. The winner leads all the way.
Running second is Master Jamie. 2 lengths away, third RNT. Princess Tanko, fourth defence.
I don't know where Mashani's Sniper is. Is it last?
Straight Ace, a dead set midfield on its lonesome. You called it Super Helpful, Hard Raver. Lavish Empire, long way back. Mashani Sniper, whip them in.
So winner, second horse back here somewhere. Third horse, Straight Aces in the Aquas colours. Pulling out here. So leader's done a good job considering the closers are Lavish Empire, Straight Acer and Mashani Sniper. Yeah, Super Helpful, just never got warm.
Here's Straight Acer starting to wind up with Eagle Mont, but Namazu is in full flight. He shows the way by 2. Straight Acer.
Is this you called it back here, is it? This is the Dylan Gibbons ride, I'm assuming.
Lavish Empire out from the back. Namazu in front. He leads all of the way. He has defeated.
Yeah, it's just a race. There's not much to comment on there. I don't think there was nothing too unlucky. They all had their chance. Time overall is pretty good. Winners just had, the best. It was the best run in the race, pretty much. I think Snowden's got Lavish Empire. All right, that's enough of that. The last in Brisbane I was going to look at, but honestly it was just a pretty average race, and I think it was just a bit more misleading than anything. Philly's race heading towards the Oaks, I don't think it's really worth looking. Yeah, I don't think it was. I was amazed the leader got home. But... All right, let's look at. I don't know what races there are this week. Let's have a look. I couldn't have less interest of Warrnambool if you tried. Yeah, I was on Super Helpful as well. As I said, it paraded great. Settled in. They were there for a week. He took it up there a week before, and so, he gave it every possible chance to run well. Settled in well, paraded well, and ran poorly. So I'm not sure what happened with Super Helpful, whether the blinkers didn't help or what, but it was just one of those things. Saturday the 4th of May, Queensland Guineas, South Australian Derby. Let's bring them up. SA Derby, Queen Elizabeth Cup, Hawkesbury Crown, Hawkesbury Gold Rush, Clarendon Stakes, Hawkesbury Gold Cup, Hawkesbury Guineas. Jesus. Go through them rather quickly. Victory Stakes front page. It's a better first up horse for mine, front page. Thought it was, that wet track the other day, but it was still a little bit plain. I'll be wary of front page. Uncommon James. And nothing. This horse was a good win the other day, but every possible chance. Penko. Nothing stands out there for me. Knight's Choice, good horse. Not the right race for it, though. Queensland Guineas. Oh, here's a horse. $11 into $8 already, Port Lockroy. Ducasse was a huge win the other day, but it's had a long prep. So has Kintyre. It's an interesting race. Mr. Kipchoge's probably looking for further. Panic's a very honest horse. Caracas Transatlantic. Look at this all-in betting. It's just a joke. This horse is flying. I just don't know if it runs a mile. McHale. This is embarrassing. I just dead set put up 250. Crazy. Port Lockroy probably is the most interesting horse for me there. $11 was probably a touch of value. I can see why they snipped it into $8. Cafe Millennium. Must have been freshened. I can't see any huge overs there, that's for sure. If Ryan Maloney rides Port Lockroy, that's a huge negative. Were you with or against Jimmy Star? I was against it at the price. It was just ridiculously short. Watch Paddy B TV. G'day, mate. Nice to welcome in. Yeah, I was against it. It was just a ridiculously short price and wasn't really sure where it was going to be in the run. The problem was trying to find the winner. It was probably one of those lay it for something small. It wasn't a gap job, but it's a bit of a weird horse. Yeah, Razors was tough behind Broadsiding. It can certainly line up there, but I don't think it's any huge value. $8. I'd be happy to wait and see. Okay, so here we go. This is the race we were just looking at. SA Derby, Warmonger, Bold Soul, Ahariri, Coco Sun. So these horses are all basically backing up, and I would imagine that maybe half of them won't go there. It wasn't a bad run the other day. Warrior the Warrior, just you know that it's going to carry Digger McClellan again. Yeah. So it would be coming out of the St. Ledger Ahariri. These horses are coming off a really slowly run race. Another race where I'd be happy to wait and look at fields and acceptances there. I don't think there's anything too exciting. Do I find Hawkesbury a quirky track? I think it's one of the worst tracks in Sydney, and it's very hard to ride. Glady thinks so's a weird horse. I don't understand what it's doing there. Be better off playing Wagga than Warrnambool. Agree. They just, I think when they lengthened the straight, or they moved the winning post at Hawkesbury, right? And since then, what has happened is it's jockeys are lulled into a false sense of security by that extra bit of straight that they actually don't put their horses into the race early enough. There's not as much pressure in the races there used to be at Hawkesbury. Used to get a lot of more fast run competitive races, so horses actually used to be able to run on more efficiently with the track being 100 metres shorter, or the straight being 100 metres shorter than it is now. It's a bit of counterintuitive, but it makes sense if you understand. A lot of the bigger tracks with the big straights are the slowest run races because jockeys are content to find cover and find positions, thinking they're going to get more chance to run on. So Hawkesbury's definitely one of those. They're just butchering the track with watering it at Hawkesbury. Whatever's going on there with their irrigation, the fence is ridiculous. It just goes off. It's like they won't have rain all week and it'll be quicksand. It drives you mad. And then the one day that you set up for it to be diabolical, it'll be like a road hard fence leaders can't run on. So it's one of the worst. From a punter's perspective, it sounds bad. It's just one of the hardest tracks to set up for because you never know what you're going to get. It just seems artificially irrigated, which is all irrigation is artificial, but the conditions of the surface are affected the most by irrigation. So it's very hard to set up meetings. Queen Elizabeth Stakes, I see that Berkeley Square is the favourite. I then go, not my sort of race. Hawkesbury Cup, Crown. Shadows of Love is airborne. Madame Pommery is nearly impossible to catch. I thought that Tashi was going for a spell. Wallinga Beast was a little bit unlucky in that race the other day. Jesus, look at these horses. Party for One. Interesting. I thought it was down in Melbourne, Mick Price. Now, Sandstock's a very good horse first up, as a rule. And I believe it's first up, so it's an interesting runner. Not a lot else there. It makes sense. Shadows of Love being favourite here. Again, not a race that I'd be diving into. Pretty happy to wait and see there. Nothing stands out as sort of one you've been waiting for or anything like that. It's absolutely flying, Shadows of Love. Flying. I think it had a bit of a foot issue. It's the horse that had the bar plates that they didn't tell anyone about last start, so just a little bit worried there. But if they come off, that'd be a plus. Hawkesbury Gold Rush, Wayne Essie Parasol, Spacewalk Duel, nothing pops out there. Nothing. No, that's a diabolical race, the Gold Rush. Which horse is Imperial Force? Is it the horse that won the maiden? So it got beaten a maiden at the Kensington track, then it won the maiden pretty convincingly, but it was a very ordinary race. Gee, that's a bad looking race. Why is this race so weak? Nominations extended. I'd expect other horses to pop up here because for it to be a stakes race with a maiden winner as the $2.80 favourite, and then not a lot else. I think Trafalgar Square's coming out of a maiden as well. When it was in the right spot at Canterbury. Gee, that's a weak looking race. Yeah, the Wall Horse, yeah. It'll be interesting. I'd say more horses will pop up there, nominations extended. Gold Cup. I usually like this race. Berkshire Shadow. Who's this horse? Kieran Maher horse. Ran 14th in the Doncaster. I was a bit of an unlucky run in the Doncaster. I do remember it. Detonator Jack was good in the Doncaster. Jojo was a man, just folk, tractable. Good speed in this race. Renaissance Woman, it's a very interesting horse if it runs here back to a mile. Just to whether you can do that, because I think it's gone up and back in distance twice. It's never easy, I've found, to do the old up and back in trip twice. So, yeah, it's gone 15, 2000, 16, 2000, and it would be back to 16 here. But it's flying. Renaissance Woman, interesting horse. Flirt, here to shock, good horse. Nothing much stands out there either. Be very important acceptances here and barrier draws and whatever. We've got Just Folk, Attractable. Whether they both accept, you'll get a good tempo if you do, and then probably want to find stalkers from that point on. Nothing there that looks too exciting. Have they backed anything? Berkshire Shadow, 11 into 6. 26 into 15. So it's been backed in both races, Madame Pomeroy. That's weird. Hawkesbury Guineas. So I think Razor is going up to Brisbane. Basis loaded first up. General Salute. Bit of a funny horse. Konasana Robrick. I think the Guineas is 1400, isn't it? If Mikhail shows up here, I think it's much better suited than that mile race we were looking at. Yeah, this is 1400. So I think Mikhail's a very interesting horse in this race. I think it's going really well, and 1400 will suit it. I think $15 is interesting for it. Not a horse, like I'm not telling you to dive in here, that's for sure. Bojangles is an interesting horse, $51. Certainly not super pumped to be diving into Schwartz. Panic's an honest horse, but no superstar, but a very honest horse. Raises, as I said, I think it's going to Brisbane. Bases loaded to be first up. General Salute's interesting. It's the horse that appeals to me the most, Mikhail. Bases loaded, any chance? I'm not sure how it's going. I'll find out more. First up from last year. So it's had 12 months off, 2 trials within a month. Rain forecast all week, then dumping on race day. That's interesting to know. Probably should have checked that. Rocket scientist, me. King in the Guineas thought Schwartz hard to beat. Fiddler's Green. Yeah, I'm a big Fiddler's Green fan. Just check that forecast. Yeah, so 3 mils, 18 mils Friday. Is it 38 mils Saturday? Yeah, that could be ugly. So that could absolutely wipe out that meeting. Could be an absolute nightmare. I got a text message before. Hang on, I'll just see what it says. Apparently they've been watering the track and it's down to a 5 or a 6 already with the monsoon coming. So, yeah, that's not a good sign. yeah, probably, and that's more of a reason not to dive into these early prices unless you do find something that's an absolute wet tracker, like you're saying. But you'll probably want, up and off, so up towards the speed and off the fence, which is, obviously impossible to pick without a barrier draw. So wet tracks, unless you've got a bomb-proofy sort of horse that's adaptable, very hard chiming into anything early as a rule. Anything else to look at before I run away? I don't think there was anything else too exciting happened during the week, was there? Cloud seeding all day. Beautiful. Cloud seeding. Thoughts on Paul Kent? That guy looked pretty small. I just love to know how he judo threw him into the tree and put him upside down like a pot plant. It was pretty incredible. Which new sire would you send your mare to? Oh my God. I like to be as nice as possible to the bloodstock people, because they're very powerful people. But when you're reading about every horse that's been retired in the last week was the leader of their generation, and you've got all these ratings guys, writing blurbs backing it up, it's pretty hard to swallow. Momentum. It was a fair effort, upside down in the gutter, up a tree. It wasn't flattering footage. Yeah, I'll leave the new size to other people. More qualified to write ratings blurbs. Cheers, guys! Thanks for showing up as usual. Actually, the mighty Slope Hunter actually said to me something about education and talking about. Hang on, I'll read it because it was interesting. Do a stream talking to do basic form and how to read races, things like times, benchmarks, ratings, bias, weather, trainers, jockeys, stables, and things to look for during preps. These are just things that sort of starting points to things. But if you've ever got anything like that, I'm happy to do, one day a week or something where we tackle a few comments. Not comments, a few points of topics. So if you ever, just email me, John at Racing Watch. People like Spider, he sends through things all the time, which I love reading. So anything that you interested in, if it is something you would be interested in me doing, more than happy to do it. As I said, I learn just as much as anyone does. I don't think that I'm any sort of rocket scientist when it comes to every topic. Always open to learning off anyone personally, but I have had enough of a grounding across most of the industry that I can talk about most topics, so I can at least get the ball rolling, give my point of view, and then, we can sort of back and forth or whatever. So I'm more than happy to do those sort of sessions, once a week or something, and we can talk about other things as well. But if they're of interest, email me, info or John at Racing Watch, Twitter. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm everywhere, so never be scared to say hello, or if that would be a positive, more than happy to do that sort of thing as well. I run now before my wife stabs me. Mate, they're all the same. Packages are all the same. They're just it's either week, month, or year, and it's just a little bit cheaper the longer you sign up for. But you can cancel them, at any time. So it's up to you. But I appreciate it, Callum. Cheers, guys. What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.